Hello and welcome. Imagine you want to cook a dish you never tried before. You can try different ingredients, different cooking times, or you can just use a recipe you found on the internet. In a similar way, as a developer, you can try to build your website from scratch, or you can use code that other developers created. In this video, I'll illustrate how to include CSS and JavaScript libraries in your HTML file. I'm also going to explain what dependencies are, the purpose of a package manager and JavaScript bundlers. Let's get started. By now, you know you write code in your application and that this code interacts with APIs provided by libraries and frameworks. Since you'll be deploying your application to a web server in the end, you must include these libraries and frameworks with it. If you do not include them, your application won't be able to call the API functions it needs to execute when you run it. That is why the libraries and frameworks are often referred to as dependencies. Your application depends on them. On the front end, you do this by referencing the JavaScript or CSS files in your HTML file. One popular library you can use to develop user interfaces is the Bootstrap library. You will learn more about Bootstrap in this course, but for now, let me demonstrate how a library such as Bootstrap can be included on a web page. Start by opening your HTML file. Next, add the CSS library for Bootstrap in the head element using a link tag. The link tag includes an href attribute to link the CSS library I am including. I also included a rel attribute to specify that the link is for a style sheet. Bootstrap also provides a JavaScript library that enables enhanced functionality such as drop-downs and tooltips. You'll likely need those features during development. So let me demonstrate how to add the JavaScript library to your web page. Open your previous file that already has the Bootstrap CSS. Next, add the JavaScript library for Bootstrap in the body element, using a script element. I then add an src attribute to the script element to specify the link to the library. Let me add a Bootstrap button to the page to demonstrate how easy it is. In the body, I add the button element. Then I add an attribute called type and the CSS class btn. I also add the modifier btn-primary and a description. Click this button. This will add a button using Bootstrap's primary color, blue, on the web page. This is what the rendered version of the code will look like. You can now start using the additional Bootstrap functionality. This is quite a simple example. In day-to-day development, however, it can end up being a lot more complicated. For example, what happens if your dependency also depends on other libraries and frameworks? This is known as a dependency tree. A project could have hundreds of dependencies in its tree. It will take a very long time to download, set up, and configure all of them. And how do you make sure you're using the same versions the rest of your team is using? This is where package managers come in. A package manager is a tool that automatically downloads and installs dependencies. We also refer to dependencies as packages. A package manager also provides the capability to publish your own packages. But let's not worry about that right now. For each dependency, you can specify a version of that dependency, and the package manager will download it for you. If there is a dependency tree, the package manager takes care of that for you. It will automatically download all of the dependency tree so that you can use APIs without dependency issues. The most common package manager for front-end development is the Node Package Manager, or NPM for short. You'll have an opportunity to explore the NPM later on. Now that all your dependencies are downloaded, you need to include them in your HTML file. But adding all of them into an HTML file would take forever. This is where you will use a bundling tool. The purpose of a bundler is to automatically combine them into a single file. If your bundle is significantly large, many bundlers can split your dependencies into multiple bundles. There are many bundlers available, such as Gulp and Webpack. You'll explore bundling in more depth later on. You now know how to include CSS and JavaScript libraries in your HTML file. You also know what a dependency is, what the purpose of a package manager is, and what JavaScript bundlers are.